you might be wondering to yourself, what is the overhead squat? And I don't really know. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it looks cool and it's gonna help you with your snatch. So when people are overhead squatting, there are often a few areas that are very common that people need to work on. So it's gonna be mobility in the ankles, stability in the knees, stability in the core, and then mobility and oftentimes stability in the shoulders. So what I notice a lot with people is their hips and their ankles might be okay with overhead squatting, but their upper body is really, really tight, and that prevents them from getting into a good overhead position. So what I'm gonna show you guys is a very easy drill you can do at home or at the gym, either before or after training or just on off days. That's gonna really help open up and stabilize your shoulders at the same time. So what I like to do is just various dead hangs. So the first one I do is just a regular pull-up grip. I'm gonna jump up on the bar and I'm gonna hang there for 30 seconds. So what that looks like is I just jump up, I'm gonna hang, and I'm just holding myself in this position here. I'm trying to keep my head through. I'm not back here like this. I'm just gonna hang for 30 seconds. Very simple. So the next one I'm gonna do that exact same thing, but with a chin-up grip. So I'm gonna jump up, I'm gonna hold right here, and it's the same thing, guys. I'm trying to push my head through, keep myself in a good position with my lower body, and I'm just gonna hang here for 30 seconds. So these ones are more to mobilize your shoulders and open them up a little bit, and then I usually do 2 more drills to start activating my shoulders and getting them more stable. So the first one I do is I jump up and I'm pushing my head through and back. So I'm really active with my shoulders. I'm holding myself up, pushing my head through and pulling it back. So I would do this 10 to 20 times. Okay, that's the first shoulder stability drill I'm gonna do, as opposed to just passively hanging. The second one I like to do is I like to switch from hand to hand. So I'll be hanging, I'll release my grip on one and then on the other. So I'm going back and forth, releasing my grip, kind of like this. So there we go, I got the rhythm going now. So once you get that rhythm going, I would go about 10 to 20 transitions each side. So that's a really good one. You'll feel it right away, working your grip, working your shoulder stabilizers. And once you're done it, you're gonna feel way more open than you would normally. So I go regular pull-up grip 30 seconds, chin-up grip 30 seconds, head through and back for about 20 reps, and then switch my hands back and forth for about 20 reps. There are a lot of different hanging drills you can do. You can hang from one arm, you can hang with neutral grip, alternating grip. All these different things are really gonna help open up your lats, help open up your triceps as well, and work on your grip strength. So in terms of building up your overhead squat, that's a great routine you can do, and it takes probably about 1 to 2 minutes, or probably around 2 minutes to complete. 30 seconds of each, 20 reps of those second 2. So if you guys are looking to get your overhead squat better, that's a really great way to do it. All right, the second drill we're gonna go through is to stretch out your lats, which are a muscle that are chronically tight in a lot of people. We simply don't really go overhead that often unless we've been weightlifting from a very young age. So a lot of people have tremendous tightness in their lats, and this is a really great stretch to open those up. Same thing, I do this either before or after I train. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a band, usually this medium thickness band. I'm gonna attach it onto a pull-up rig here. I'm putting my hand through, I'm gonna put some tension in that, and then I'm gonna grab it. So I'm not simply just putting my hand in and grabbing it, in which case I have to squeeze on it really tight and try and prevent myself from slipping out. So always make sure you put a little tension, and then you grab it, and it's kind of secure. I can release my grip, and I'm still attached to that band. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna face sideways. I'm gonna have my hand over my head, all right, so behind my ear. I'm gonna step forward with my opposite leg, it's my arm. I'm gonna kneel down on the ground, and oftentimes this is gonna be enough for you. So you can kind of just hang out here for about a minute each side, really be gentle with it. Sometimes even coming to just right here with your knee off the ground is enough. As you progress in this though, what I like to do is scoot myself out, push my hip out towards the wall, and then relax back into it. So I'm kind of moving in and out of that tension. What I can also do is rotate forward, get a big stretch down this lateral line of my body. I can open up and stretch my chest and come back down. So I'm just gonna be rotating through this a number of times, pushing my hip out, trying to play around and find the tight areas. So what you'll notice is every single stretch you do is gonna be different for each person. So some people will do that stretch, not really feel anything until they open up to their chest. Some people won't feel anything till they close down. What I would say is give yourself a minute or two on each side and find those tight areas that you have, and then start addressing those more individually based on your specific case. So don't just mindlessly do all the stretches you do. Really make sure you're being mindful and conscious of what is stretching and what is tight on you. That's really the best way to improve your mobility for overhead squat, front squat, any of these Olympic movements. So that's the second thing you guys can do to help your overhead squat. Stretch your lats with this band exercise. So most of the time people will address overhead mobility, stretching out the chest, stretching out your lats in order to get into a good overhead position. But the thing with an overhead squat is you're supporting a load over your head, so you have to be stable. You can't just be mobile in your overhead position. Like I said, you have to be very stable to support a heavy load overhead. So one of the things that I'm going to show you guys how to do is a drill on increasing overhead stability. So for most people who have been in weight training for a while, or who just basically have been living on earth for a while, there tends to be a dominance in the anterior portion of our body in terms of muscular size and strength. So you'll notice a lot of people have overdeveloped front delts, overdeveloped chest, and they end up kind of in this forward posture here, forward head posture, with an underdevelopment in the posterior or the back of their shoulders. When you go to overhead squats, if you're really strong in these muscles here, you're gonna end up having a really tough time stabilizing overhead. So what we wanna do is build up the rear delts and build up the muscles in the posterior, the back of your shoulder. So one thing you can do is, if you have these two bands here, great. If you don't, buy some. You can get them online. They're pretty cheap. What I like to do is I get an overhand grip on both of them. And what I'm going to do is, or I'm going to attempt to do, because I'm wearing my fancy shorts today, I'm going to attempt to squat all the way down, and at the same time, I'm lifting my hands up into an overhead position. So make sure you're not too far away from where the bands start. You want to be fairly close in your regular squat stance. And as I squat down, like I said, I'm lifting my hands up, holding for 5 seconds, and coming back down, okay? So that whole time I'm holding for 5 seconds, I'm trying to push back with my hand as hard as I can, really activating my rear delts, really keeping my shoulders active and building stabilization. So I would do probably 2 sets of 10 with a 5-second pause. That's gonna be pretty challenging. So once again, coming all the way down, pushing back as hard as I can, and then releasing, coming back up. So if you guys do 2 sets of 10 before you train, or especially before you train overhead squats, that's really gonna start getting your shoulders stable and also opening them up at the same time. So I've given you guys 2 overhead mobility exercises you can do and 1 overhead stability exercise that you can do. The only way you guys are gonna get better at these movements is by actually doing them. So even if you choose one of the exercises I've shown you, make sure you do that consistently, either before or after you train, and on off days, and over weeks, over months, over years, it'll get better. Just make sure that you don't try and do too much all at once and then end up doing nothing the next day or the next week. So I hope those helped you guys out tremendously, and I look forward to seeing you guys overhead squats like Olympic champions in the near future. So long.